Welcome to EnergizeUtv, where science, energy, and everyday life come together to help you live with greater clarity, confidence, and purpose. I'm Angel Marie, your activation catalyst. Each week we will discover inspiring conversations, practical insights, and simple tools to help you regulate your energy, strengthen your intuitive edge, and create more of what matters most. Every episode is designed to leave you feeling more energized, more present, and more prepared for whatever comes next. Let's activate your energy and see what's possible. Greetings, and welcome to EnergizeUtv, where energy meets modern life. I'm Angel Marie, your activation catalyst. I'm so happy that you're here with us today. And you know what? Would you like to experience more joy in your life? I think you may. This has been one of the biggest things that have been missing in so many people's lives, is that beauty of our joy. And that's why this week I'm so excited, because it's all about increase your joy, the power of emotional intelligence. And that's exactly why I handpicked today's guest. Because joy isn't just something we simply stumble upon, is it? It grows from outside, out understanding ourselves and recognizing what we have been carrying and learning how to create more emotional freedom. And that's why Jenny is coming on today, a former human factors engineer, CEO, like top level, who spent more than a decade studying how people think and behave before becoming a hypnotherapist. Wow. So today she helps people understand the subconscious mind, heal emotional patterns, and create healthier relationships with themselves and others. She also is an author of a powerful new book that makes emotional intelligence simple, practical, and life-changing. Let me tell you, it so is. I'm excited to bring her on, but before we bring her on to this conversation, and even before we start into the joy and what joy is all about and that energy of joy, we're going to start where we always start with, which is energy. And why? Because if we do not understand energy, really feel and connect to energy, then what happens? Then we're not understanding fully ourselves and understanding that. And many people, you hear the word energy, and maybe you're the same way. I mean, are you kind of leaning into this? Like, you hear about energy and you think about, oh, is it electrical? Is it like has batteries? You may have heard that. People say it to me all the time. They're like, what do you mean by that, Angel? Yet energy is more to more. It really is, isn't it? And energy is always moving. It moves through every living thing. And it reflects your thoughts. Ooh, think about that. Your emotions, your words, your actions. You may be able to see energy, right? We don't really see energy, yet you experience it every day. Have you ever walked into a room and you immediately felt like, it felt good? Or you walked into the room and it was kind of uncomfortable. And it was like before anybody spoke, before anything, it was like you just didn't feel it. That's energy. That's what you felt. It was like or it was like, what's going on? That's energy. And have you ever spent time with somebody and you just felt inspired? Or someone who left you feeling exhausted? Maybe that too. That's energy also. Everything is communicating this energy. The question is, are you paying attention? And that is a really good one, because we don't always pay attention because we're in our heads, we're thinking about something else. And just like, I love this quote by Einstein, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. Can we just pause for a second on that? Why don't we just pause for a second on that and even take a drink of water here, because I want you just to think about that. Think about this. If energy can be changed, then that means you have the ability to change your energy, right? You have the ability to change whatever emotion, thought, your energy at any time. And this one, I love this one also. Reality is not fixed. It is in a field of vibrating energy waiting for your mind to direct it. Whoa. Can we repeat that one? Reality isn't fixed. It is in a field of vibrating energy waiting for the mind to direct it, to program it. You know what? This is just, this isn't just mindset. There's a science behind how thoughts, your emotions, and your physiology interacts. Reality is not fixed. The field around you is alive with possibilities. You know I'm always saying that about how wonderful everything is with possibilities. Possibilities. And we think about that. Because your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions are constantly directing your energy within that field, whatever field. And I like to call it, sometimes it's the biofield, sometimes it's the electromagnetic field. And then it can be also the circuits and the field, the wave of the quantum field. Ooh, right? Now that's science. This is real stuff here. So what I want you to think about is that what you think about, you also bring about. And that's quantum physics, thinking about this. I want you to take a moment and let this really land with you so it resonates. Because now let's direct our energy together. And this is the fun part. And saying, everything in my life is easy. Just take a breath. Take a breath with this. Everything in my life is easy. Beautiful. Just really feel that. Allow that feeling of ease to settle into your mind, your body, and your day. Everything in my life is easy. Because when we keep saying this vibration, the energy, this is quantum physics. Everything says, oh, everything in your life is easy. Well, I'm going to make it easy because I'm going to give that energy and we're going to switch that energy. I really, really appreciate you helping and playing along with me on this. But yet I want you to play more. Because why? Because I love you that much, yes. And also I want you to be able to step into feeling this beauty around you and that everything is easy. Because we have a tendency to show up places, right? And it's like, oh, there's a long line. Oh, interesting when we can go in and say, oh, it's an adventure. I'm going to get to meet so many people today. Different, huh? Very different. So let's drink some water because you know I love you so much. And I'm always on Facebook in the morning and also on Instagram. I do stories that remind you to drink your water. Take a deep breath because it will change your life and it'll help you feel better. And I just want you to feel so much better right now, right? I do. So let's move into joy energy and how it actually feels in your body and in your life. Now, we take this from the Shine On book, and this is from secret number, let me look, secret number 49, and it's the joy. And what the quote is, your ultimate joy is in connecting to your shine. Now, when you connect to your shine, when you connect to that vibrational field, it's powerful. And you know, your shine is who you are at your very best. It is the part of you that feels alive, authentic, and fully you. And it's not about being perfect. Ooh, but you know what? You are perfect. My daddy always used to say that, Angel, you're perfect. And I never got what he said. We're perfect. We really are. But it's not about being perfect. It's about being connected to what brings you meaning, purpose, and joy. Meaning, purpose, and joy. That's where your shine is. The more you connect with the part of yourself the more naturally joy begins to show up in your life. Yeah, just let's pause for a second and connect to that. Because you know what? Joy is one of those words you hear all the time. It's a big buzz. I hear that a lot. I get clients, people calling and saying, I don't know where my joy went. I can't find my joy. And I get it. Because you may be like some people that joy is and happiness is the same thing. And they're not. Happiness often depends on what is happening around you, right? Joy comes from what is happening within you. You may have a very difficult day and you still can experience joy. I know I do. One of my things and I'll tell you, one of my things is I step into joy for no apparent reason. And I say it like that. When I teach my Reiki students, I say, this energy will help you to feel joy for no apparent reason. And I do. And I want that for you. Because it is a state that you can intentionally create. Does this resonate with you? Are you getting this? Have you ever looked at someone and thought, they have everything, yet they still do not seem really happy or joyful? Wow. Or maybe you have caught yourself saying, I should be happy about this. I should be more happy and joyful. Yet something still feels like it's missing. No, you're not alone, because a lot of people go through that. And science has helped us understand why. Research by this psychologist, Barbara Fredrickson, found that positive emotion do more than make us feel good. They actually expand our thinking. They help us to see more possibilities. I love the possibilities. They improve your creativity. I want you to be so creative, because when we're creative, you really do step in there. And they also help strengthen our relationships and even help us recover from stress more quickly. And we all, no matter if it's little stress and big stress, and let me tell you, the body doesn't know the difference between little stress and big stress. It really doesn't. So, because you're here on EnergizeUtv, we always say, see what's possible. Joy helps us do exactly that. So take a breath. Are you tracking with me right now? Are you with me right now? So I can tell you a little story about a woman that came to see me for a Reiki and spiritual coaching and energy activation session. These are like a little mini retreats that I put on. And she walked in very quiet. She wasn't crying or angry, but she simply, I could feel like a flatness, like a heaviness. And as we talked, she finally said, I don't know what is wrong with me. Nothing excites me anymore. Ooh, breathe that in, run in. Nothing excites me anymore. Have you held that or felt that? You're just kind of getting through the day. You're check marking all the things off. Oh yeah, I did that. Yet something feels like it's missing. It's just like, So, let's jump back. So as we continued to talk, and I continued to talk to her, what happened is she realized, she said, spent years taking care of everyone else. Yeah. And I looked at her and I said, yeah. She stopped doing the little things that she once brought her joy. She just stopped. And she really recognized this when she said it out loud. And I said, think about that. And she said, I stopped walking outside. I stopped listening to music. I stopped laughing. I stopped celebrating the little moments. And think, nothing was, dynamically wrong. What did she do? She simply disconnected from herself. And by the end of the session, I gave her one assignment. No, I didn't give her 10 things. I didn't give her 3 things. I gave her just one moment of joy every day. And I told her it didn't need to have a big, it could be you watch the sun rise and you put a smile on your face. You dance while making dinner. and you put a smile on your face. You called a friend, you laughed. You sat quietly in nature. Just one moment, one thing. And I really challenge you also to do the same. For you to do the same. To connect to that. Because what happened was amazing. Because when she came back to me, it was so wonderful. Because when she came back weeks later, she was smiling. You know, nothing major happened in her life that really changed. Yet she had changed. She told me, I remember who I was. And I started to regulate. I love that. Regulate what was happening in my life. And I started to see it. So I want you to take a moment. How many of you are waiting for something outside of us? Waiting outside of you. When maybe, and I say maybe, but when you know what? The joy has been waiting inside of you all along. Think about that moment. Think about that moment of when you connect to your joy. It's beautiful. And now let me give you one more example that can help you to really step into your joy and understand. I'm facilitating a large event, several hundred people. And you know, the speakers were great. The room was beautiful. Yep, the energy was, whoa. And I was there as the event energy conductor. So that was my job, was to do what? To bring up the vibration. The organizer actually looked at me and said, and she didn't even need to say, and I said, okay, because I do look at them to let me be able to get on stage if they need me to. So instead of me giving everyone more information, no, I changed the energy. How did I do that? I invited everyone to stand up, take a deep breath, smile. Everyone that they know, celebrate the person next to you. Now that was the biggest key. Why? Because as they looked at the person next to them and they smiled, they started laughing because they thought it was kind of weird. They're standing up and they're looking at each other. So of course they started laughing. You know, and the whole room changed. People leaned in after that. The conversations became richer. The speakers became even more engaging. Not that they weren't in the first place, but the people were more connected. Business started happening. Friendships began. The content never changed. The energy changed. And when the energy changed, what? Joy shows up. So we don't want to try to chase joy. It's something you choose. So today I invite you to notice one joyful moment. One, just one. That's all. And that's powerful. Next moment and the next moment and the next moment. Just keep seeing that. The power to change that. Because that is powerful. So I want you to leave you with that and how you want to connect to that vibrational field. Now, we're going to be right back after this, but you know what? We're going to be right back and we're going to continue the conversation with Jenny, who has spent years helping people understand emotional intelligence and subconscious mind and how the emotional patterns shape the joy we experience every day. She helps us discover the simple, practical ways to create more emotional freedom and more joy in our lives. You don't want to miss this. And we'll be right back after this.
If you're listening to the EnergizeUtv, you already know the power of connection. Now imagine sharing your contact info instantly. No typing, no paper, no friction. Our digital business cards let you share your name, phone, social links, and website with one simple scan. Perfect for professionals who want to automate building their network. Ready to upgrade how you connect? Scan the QR code on the screen and get your digital business card built by JavaLogix today.
Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you, Preston out of Canada. Love your digital business card. Go ahead and check out mine. You'll see there's videos. It's just amazing. And you know, we're all going digital. So go ahead and do it. And you know what else? I want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. I see you. I love you. And you're raising the vibe of the planet. So go ahead and share this out with everyone because we're getting ready to bring Jenny on. And it's going to get juicy, juicy. So I cannot wait. So let's bring her on right now. There she is.
Hey,
Welcome.
thank you, Angel Marie.
You are so welcome. And you know what? I love you, but I want you to tell the viewers who you are.
Well, I'm Jenny Battig, and I live down in Melbourne, Florida. I've lived here for 26 years now. Originally from Ohio, so a Midwestern girl that moved south way before retirement.
Wow.
And
Okay.
like you said earlier, I was a human factors engineer initially, and then made the huge leap to become a hypnotherapist, and just really got inspired by the idea of emotional intelligence. Like you were saying earlier, this is not just a woo woo thing. There's science to our energy, our emotional energy. So it's really exciting.
It really is. And thank you for being on. I'm so excited for this. And yes, I handpicked you because I keep getting asked, and people are saying, I can't find my joy. I can't find my joy. And I tell them, well, you don't have to find it. You just have to ignite it or
Mm-hmm.
activate it.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. But emotional intelligence, you know, it's really a buzzword in the business and the personal growth right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand why, because it's everything in every area of our life, but it's much more. Could you explain to our viewers, maybe if they're not understanding what that means, before we really dive in?
Sure. So there's lots of ways to explain it, but emotional intelligence to me, kind of the simplest way to think of it, is really just kind of expanding your ability to understand and kind of appreciate and have empathy for emotions, not only that you are experiencing, but what others may be experiencing.
Mm, that's a good one. The empathy. I like that. And this is a good one. I thought this research was incredible. Research from Yale Center of Emotional Intelligence found that people with higher emotional intelligence tend to have healthier relationships,
Absolutely.
experience less stress, and
Mm-hmm.
build stronger relations.
Yes. Yeah. That's something that I see a lot with my hypnotherapy clients that come in. The thing that most of them who are struggling, even though the reason they think they came in was some kind of symptom of that struggle, right? So they don't come in telling me, oh, I need to improve my emotional intelligence. They come in saying, hey, can you help me change this behavior? Why do I keep doing this when it's not actually good for me? And so what we have to do is figure out how to kind of dig some of the gunk out that's getting in their way of seeing their emotions or being able to fully experience their emotions, and release any old emotions that may be weighing them down, so that they have more capacity to handle things on a day-to-day basis. And when you're doing that, it's like the difference between going down like whitewater rapids when you don't have a whole lot of time to like do a lot of cognitive thinking versus being on a lazy river, right? So on a lazy river, you have the time and the capacity to think about how you're going to do something, or think about what's next, or just make decisions, in a more wise and thought out way. But when there's so much stuff going on that's hectic and chaotic, or you just feel like you're weighed down by too many different things, you don't have the capacity to make those decisions.
That's wonderful. I love that. And in your book, it's not a quote, but it's really what I got from this is joy is not the absence of challenges. It
Right.
is the presence of emotional awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And can you just show us your book, for one, because I love your book, and it really is emotional intelligence made really simple.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about this emotional awareness and the presence.
Yeah, one of the tools that I explain in the book to help with your emotional intelligence, and to kind of build up, I refer to your good stuff buckets and your tough stuff buckets. All right. So you can kind of look at it in a couple different ways. But if you were to build up your good stuff bucket of joy, then you're going to want to pay more attention to the positive things that are going in that bucket. So as you're more aware and you notice the good thing, just like what you were just saying with that client that you had, encouraging her to do something and pay attention and acknowledge that you smiled, acknowledge that you did something that made you happy. So that alone, it doesn't cost you anything to do that. And it's pretty easy to do. Everybody has the capacity to do it, but to make the effort to do it and acknowledge it is the key thing. So it's like just noting, oh, I put another little thing in my bucket. That was another thing that went in my joy bucket today. Something went well. I remembered something that yesterday I forgot. Oh, that's it. That's a win.
Beautiful. And I love this bucket thing. We're going to go back to this because I think this 2005 research study that showed, this is from Dr. Daisy Grun, and she said and showed that people with stronger emotional intelligence tend to build healthier relationships. And that's kind of what we keep talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Make better decisions, choices, talking about that, and navigate life's challenges more effectively. Definitely, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, if you don't have as much stuff that is unprocessed or that you refuse to kind of pay attention to or deal with, then it's going to be a distraction. And even though, like what you were saying earlier as well, the mind doesn't know, or the mind and the body don't know the difference between a big stress and a little stress. Yeah. They still add up. So it's still a tally on the negative side that you think, oh no, there's too many things on the negative side, so yeah, all that stuff can add up and make getting along with other people more difficult. It can make making decisions more difficult. All those things add up if we're not paying attention to them or trying to do something to keep our buckets more balanced.
Well, you keep talking about the buckets. So why don't we, because I like this method, or I'm not sure what to call it, but I get it's important to empty the emotional buckets too, because you do want more room. So kind of talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So one of the easiest ways, and one of the reasons I wanted to write this book, and I used this metaphor with clients for several years before figuring out that maybe I should write a book and share this with more people. But imagery and metaphor is a very powerful tool to help people understand things. So the bucket metaphor is really, it's easy for people to get because everybody's seen a bucket. Everybody's seen something go in a bucket. Everybody's seen something come out of a bucket. It's pretty basic. But just a real quick kind of demonstration of what can go on with our buckets is, so if this is what our capacity is.
One second. Viewers, you know how I love this. These are writer downers. Get your pencil out. This is going to be a writer downer. Okay. Yeah. I had to say that because I say that all the time. So go ahead. I get excited. Right. Okay.
So if this is our bucket that we have to kind of handle today's frustrations or stresses or whatever, and there's stuff from the past that made us angry and we never really dealt with it, all that stuff is already in this bucket. So that's still there, even though we're not dealing with it today, it's there. It's at the bottom of the bucket, like the sludge at the bottom of a bucket when you've been to the ocean or something like that. And then there's other things maybe people did that made us sad, or that hurt us. And those things are in that bucket too. So already you can see there's a bunch of stuff in my bucket. I'm not going to be able to fit as much as I normally would in this bucket. So, even when you've got the things that happen in your daily life and you try to fill, this is all the stuff that's going on today. How much can I handle? Can I handle all of it? No, I don't think I'm going to be able to handle all of it because look, I'm already up to where it was filled in this original bucket. And it's already to that point here. And I haven't even got through everything from today. So I have all this stuff left over that I can't handle, or it's going to spill over. And it's going to make me, erupt on my kid for something little, or it's going to make me, get into an argument with my spouse, or it's going to make me, say something inappropriate in front of a coworker or a boss or something like that. So it's important to understand that sometimes that's why we have harmful or negative interactions with people, because we didn't realize our bucket was already fuller than it should have been to start. And that's why we can't handle as much throughout the day. Some of those things could be from the far, far past, from our childhood. Some could have been from last week. But we don't really know if we're not using our emotional intelligence to kind of self-analyze and take some action to maintain our buckets on a regular basis.
It's so true. And what you're saying, and this, I really love this one because this was a quote. If your emotional abilities are not in hand, what you're talking about, you do not have self-awareness, right? Because that's what you're really talking about too.
Mm-hmm.
Because in this quote, he says, if you are not able to manage your emotions,
Yep.
then no matter how smart you are, and it's so true, you're not going to go very far. I don't like that, but that's the quote. You're not going to go very far. But you can practice, you can learn. And that's why this book, your book, and how you teach in your retreats, when you have retreats, masterminds, when you do coaching one-on-one, in your book, I see you all over social media, and it's just, you give those beautiful golden nuggets, drop those bombs. Self-awareness. Talk about that a little bit with the joy, because everybody wants to increase. I want more joy. I want to be fun.
Yeah. Well, and to kind of make another point with that demonstration I just did, I did that demonstration about the negative stuff, the tough stuff buckets, and how if we already have tough stuff in our bucket, we can't handle as much tough stuff today. But you can also see it how having that negative or tough stuff in our buckets can prohibit us from having as much joy as we deserve to have. So it can also get in the way of being able to experience as much happiness or joy or love or connection or all those things as we really need. And some of us need different amounts of those things. Like, this is a decent size of what someone would need. This is a much smaller size. Some people don't need as much connection as others, for example. I think we all need at least a decent amount of joy in our lives, but it looks different for different people. And one thing I point out in the book is the idea of adventure, right? There's definitely a whole spectrum of what people feel comfortable with when it comes to adventure. Some people are adventure seekers, and they're always looking for that adrenaline rush and all that. So they got to keep filling that bucket. They got to keep doing stuff to fill that bucket. Other people would rather not push the envelope. They want to keep things kind of calm and steady and safe. So they would have a much smaller bucket to fill, and it doesn't take much. And I'm good. So, and then there's everything in between. So that's really kind of an example of how awareness of your own buckets and just knowing that they can be a different size than someone else's, and to remove that kind of somewhat a natural tendency to compare our buckets to someone else's buckets. But when we think about how everybody just has different sizes and that's okay, it takes the competition out of what I need versus what you need, right? I just have a different size bucket. You got a different size bucket. Buckets don't have the idea of attachment to them like our actual emotions do. So when we can kind of remove that sense of attachment, just go, oh, well, it's just a different bucket. It just takes a lot of the pressure off.
I love that, because many of you viewers, if you've been watching this show for a while, I'm the adventure. I want to go off the next cliff. I want to jump up. I love that. But it's also what she's saying is everybody has the different buckets. But how many times do we say we have different ways we look at life? And it's so beautiful. And I'm going to bring this up because I think I saw a study and they showed a picture, and 53% said it was black and blue. And the rest of the percentage was something like 40 something said it was blue and yellow, which I was like, what? And I was on the 7% that said it's black and blue. I was 7%, whatever it is. The numbers aren't coming in, but you understand what I'm saying is do you see how different even the eye, what we take in?
Yep.
So what you're saying is to understand that you can look at all of these things. And I love this quote. And it is, joy grows when we create space for it. Give me a couple things that people can do right now, right here, that creates that joy right now.
You can listen to your favorite song, right? something that's uplifting, probably not like a negative, like a heavy metal song may not bring joy, but
Well, I don't know. I like my AC/DC.
for some people, yeah, depends on what kind of joy you're looking for.
I'm an old rocker. I like it.
Right.
But
Right.
I get what you're saying. You know, put something on that brings your vibration up.
Right. Right. Or just take a break and treat yourself in some way. You know, if you feel like, especially if you've been kind of on the side of feeling overwhelmed a lot, give yourself permission to take 15 minutes and soak in a bath, or, you know, or do whatever it is that really makes you happy. Again, like you said earlier with your client, whether it's going outside, you know, putting your bare feet in the grass, going to the beach and touching your feet in the sand or touching the water, get yourself grounded somehow. Whatever works for you. You know, there's so many ways, and that's something else that's unique, right? Because what fills my bucket may not be the same thing that fills your bucket.
That's right.
And that's okay too. It's different. We just have to, that's part of where the awareness, the emotional intelligence comes in, is understanding what it is that works for our buckets. And not only to fill the good stuff buckets, but to help keep the tough stuff buckets from getting too full.
Yep. I love the bucket thing. I really do. It gives you that, but you know what? Or not, but, and Brene Brown said this, and I quote, we cannot selectivity numb emotions. When we numb the painful emotions, we also numb the positive emotions.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And I can tell you probably the most common thing I've noticed with my hypnotherapy clients has been that people who come in to quit smoking, because quite often cigarettes are what people use to numb tough feelings, they have a much harder time identifying. I give them a list of emotions to identify with. What are you feeling now because you are still smoking? What do you want to feel when you're a non-smoker? And they have such a hard time identifying more than like one or two emotions. And most other people will easily identify 10 to 20, you know, and there's probably a list of 50 or 60 emotions they can pick from. And smokers, sometimes they're like, do I have to pick one? Because I don't know. It's really incredible that it's been, not every single smoker that comes in is that way, but it's been a definite pattern that I've noticed with that kind of habit that people have taken on, that it's really what they've been using to numb themselves. And it's, like I said, not just the negative feelings, but what they even think they want to feel when they're smoke free. They can't even identify that well with what they want to feel.
Ooh, yes, I hear you. That's interesting. And like we said, awareness is the first step to healing, and not necessarily energy healing and the healing like that, but any kind of a breakthrough or aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's the awareness. Yeah,
absolutely.
And I like this quote by Carl Judd: until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fake. What is it saying there? Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fake.
Mm-hmm.
Intrigued me. And I was like, Jenny, what is it saying?
Well, you know, and again, in my field with hypnotherapy, so many of my clients come in and they don't realize what's holding them down. So they don't acknowledge it. They won't admit that there's a problem. They just think that the behavior that they're doing is the problem, when really it's the stuff behind the curtain, so to speak, that's driving the behavior that we really need to get to make a significant change for them. So that, I think, is kind of lines up with what he's talking about in that quote. If you can't see it, if you can't become aware of it, then it's hard to know what to do with it, because you're not sure what you're even dealing with. But through the protocols, especially with hypnotherapy, and there's other healing modalities that can do similar things for people. But in my experience with hypnotherapy, that's exactly what we do, is we uncover those things that seem like they're hidden, but it's because they're kind of, again, sort of behind the curtain, to use like Wizard of Oz kind of terminology. And so we're not sure who's pulling the strings or what's pulling our strings. And so that's what we have to get to, is figuring out what's pushing the buttons, what's pulling the strings, and let's deal with it from that perspective.
I love that, because you come from a CEO, from that kind of corporate kind of stuff. And for you, you stepped into hypnotherapy. Why? Why hypnotherapy? I mean, there's so many different things.
Yeah. Well, having the engineering and science background, the thing that I think intrigued me most about hypnotherapy is, although it seems kind of on the surface when you don't know much about it yet, seems very woo-woo and magical for people, especially if you go to just a hypnosis show for entertainment. You're going, oh my gosh, how did they make that guy, dance on the stage or whatever? But to really, the more I looked into the subconscious and what it's involved with in terms of how it runs, how we behave, how we think, how we feel, all those things, I thought that's really like the last frontier, so to speak, in terms of figuring out how we work as humans. And since I was already interested in human factors engineering, but that wasn't going to get me into more human stuff, that was more engineering stuff, hypnotherapy just seemed like the best, branch for me to grab for, and really dive into understanding how humans work and how we can improve human interaction with each other and with what we're having to do as humans. So being able to tap into the subconscious, I often will, say that I'm helping people tap into their subconscious superpowers, because if you can become aware of what's driving you in your subconscious, you can influence it more easily. I mean, talk about manifestation and bringing about what you think about. That's where it starts. So that's where the link needs to be, the power needs to go. And just so many people don't realize that. So it's sort of like, that's part of the education of, the emotional intelligence as well, is understanding that's where you need to go to access that kind of emotional energy and that kind of influence in your overall energy. And I also ask a lot of clients, because it's just simpler to explain things to them, if they've seen the movies Inside Out, the Pixar movies, the animated ones, because they do such a great job of demonstrating how our minds work, and they, unfortunately, in the first movie that came out, like, I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago, they made it seem like the subconscious was just the part where the clown was sleeping and it was scary. But really, the whole movie is about the subconscious. It's about how our feelings drive how we behave and how we react to things. And if somebody's seen that film, then it's much easier for me to explain to them how hypnotherapy works, because there's a lot of good examples from that movie as to how the emotions drive our and emotional energy, obviously, is what it's about, how it drives our behaviors and our reactions.
That's a wonderful point. And then also, haven't you found that there's more high-level people, CEOs, I don't want to just say that, entrepreneurs, just high-performing, that are really stepping more into hypnotherapy? And also, I call it the intuitive edge, because that's what I teach, that intuitive edge on leaders to bridge the gap between the science and the energy, and really help them to develop that intuitive edge. Absolutely. And that's what I'm finding there. I just was asked the other day by a gentleman that said, I think I want to see a hypnotherapist because I just learned about that. And this guy is a guy, for one, but I don't mean to, and then he's a high level. He's got a corporate, he is high level, and he's coming to me to see where I'm at and what I'm picking up intuitively. And this is where I really believe that we're going, that we can help that. So how can you help? Because I know you're listening, CEOs, entrepreneurs, high performers, that you've got a lot of reports, you've got a lot of things going on. And you're going, okay, self-awareness. Okay, emotional intelligence. Okay, how am I bridging all this?
Yeah. In fact, in response to that kind of movement, that I've noticed over the last several years. I started kind of also mentioning the concept of hypno coaching for people so that they realize it's not just about trying to apply therapy to something that feels broken or needs to be fixed. It's about just, as I said earlier, allowing yourself to connect to the powers of your subconscious. And all kinds of highly successful people, whether it's Olympic athletes, professional athletes, professional speakers, CEO, large media moguls, things like that. Most, if not all of them, have had some sort of coach, like mindset coach or something along those lines, that have helped them to improve and kind of level up each time they'd get to a different part of their career. So, people like Tiger Woods used a lot of imagery type of work before he would go out and play golf. There are singers and performers that do the same thing. Those are things that have been going on for years and years. And, obviously those people are in a position where they have been aware of these kind of tools that maybe not your average person thinks to use, but they have access to them and they're taking advantage of it. And so why don't we all take advantage of that? You don't have to be someone rich and famous to get a coach that can help you with your subconscious awareness, your emotional intelligence, your mindset. All those things are much more easily accessible than people realize.
Yeah. And people are searching out for them now, and because of the science, which is really exciting since I've been doing this for almost 30 years. So I'm like, yay, they're getting it.
Right.
So, what is because this has gone really fast. So what is your free gift that you're giving out today? Because I have free gifts.
Yes. I have done, I think it's about a 15 or 16 minute guided meditation. So kind of similar to my hypnotic programming that I do for people, but not quite as in depth. But it walks you through some of the processes of maintaining your buckets, your emotional buckets. So it's just a nice, simple, easy 15-minute listen, very relaxing, to, again, kind of give your mind the imagery so that as you get used to it, you don't necessarily have to listen to the recording every time. You've gone through it some in your mind already, and you can kind of walk yourself through it on your own. So it's sort of like a coaching or teaching recording to teach our subconscious how to handle those buckets.
Fabulous. So check that out, and you'll see that below. And check, because you can feel her vibration, can't you? And that's what, Jenny, you've been on my show, I think it was like more than 5 years ago. Since I've been doing this forever. And you did a meditation on that show.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget that. And that's why I called you back for this specific one, because I knew I wanted that vibration again.
Mm-hmm.
So check that out, because it will help you. And go ahead, and there is her website, and tell her Angel sent you. You watch this, and it's powerful. So I don't want to end, but we need to end. So what is, maybe leave with your final words?
Well, can I share just a funny anecdote about you talking about the meditations and how the energy is good? So one thing that I've realized as I became a hypnotherapist, and I've gotten so much feedback from my clients over the years about, oh, your voice is so soothing and calming. Oh, I love going to sleep to your voice, or something like that. And every time they say that, I have to giggle to myself, because, when I was in college, I was a volleyball player, and then I ended up coaching for several years after that. And what I recognized at that time was my voice is not good for like loud projection in a large gym where there's a bunch of stuff going on. Cause I would try to call a timeout, and the ref wouldn't even hear me. And we were only like, maybe 50 feet away from each other. And so it's so nice to know that, although it took me a while through my career, as an engineer, and then finally into hypnotherapy, to go, oh, this is what my voice is better suited for.
I do hear you, because I had the same thing. I was in a gym and I was teaching like 40 kids, and there was all the other kids, and I had to project, and I was really amazed that I could not project.
Yeah.
And I had to look at my assistant and I said, Crystal, and she goes, I got you. And she projected, and I was like, and then afterwards I was like, I don't think that this is a place for me.
Right. Yeah. In my case, I
I
think it was a 14-year-old girl on the bench that yelled out timeout. And that's when the ref knew that I wanted a timeout.
That's when I was like, we need a mic, because our energy is just that soothing energy.
Yeah.
I really believe that. It just is that,
Yeah.
So please, any final words before we end?
Well, I just want to make sure everybody's aware, the book that I've written is a great kind of starter to get you into this whole process. It helps you understand, gives you that, again, the metaphor of the buckets. It goes into all kinds of detail about different ways that you can manage them and how to just be more aware of them. And it's given so many of my clients the aha moment of, oh, I don't have to judge myself so harshly, or, oh, I don't have to compare myself to others and think that I'm less than, or it's my fault that this is happening the way it is, or whatever. And so Mind Your Buckets, that book, it's available in paperback, audiobook, ebook. Like, I did every way I could think of to put it out there for people,
Fabulous.
to make it easy for
Thank
people
you.
to get to at all kinds of different online retailers. And then you can go to mindyourbuckets.com. From there, not only can you find out more about the book and read some of the reviews that I've gotten in early on in the book, but also you can find out more about my work with hypnotherapy, hypno-coaching, things like that, which can be done either in person or, over the airwaves with our technology.
That sounds awesome. I so appreciate this. And check that out. Check her website out and go to that Mind Your Buckets. And thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You. And then, I'll have you on in not another 5 years. It'll be quicker than that. So I will see you next time. Thank you so much, honey.
All right. Bye-bye, Angel.
Bye, honey. Thank you. Oh my gosh, she was just amazing, wasn't she? And all the great tips. But you know what, too, is I would love to give you a free gift. And you know what? Right now, right here, this is the free gift I'm giving you. It's, you know what? The energy reset sessions. Your personal power begins with learning how to regulate your energy. We know that. We're always talking about that. And your energy is regulated. Your mind becomes clearer, right? And you feel calmer, and you step into that intuitive edge and you become stronger. So go ahead and make that decision and just use that QR code. Go to my website if you want, angelmarieshines.com, go to events. Either way, and get on that, and I'll see you on Monday and Wednesday online in the morning, or whenever you would like. You can get the replays, and we'll go from there. And you know what else? I would love to also give you, and if you really want to go deeper, these books are the foundation of the teaching that I shared every week with EnergizeUtv. And they can help strengthen your energy and develop, yes, your intuitive edge, and create that life filled with greater clarity, confidence, and purpose. So remember something. Remember something. Your energy is the music of your life. So keep it tuned, keep it flowing, keep it activated, and let your life become your masterpiece, because every time you regulate your energy, you strengthen that intuitive edge. Every time you strengthen your intuitive edge, you expand what becomes possible. I love that. I'm going to be here every week bringing you wisdom and that modern science and simple strategies that will help you to create more confidence and purpose. Until next time, regulate your energy, strengthen your intuitive edge, and activate your greatness. I'll see you next week on Energize You TV, where energy meets modern life. Thank you so much for being here. Before you go, take one deep breath and ask yourself, what am I taking with me from today's conversation? then carry that awareness into your day. I'm Angel Marie, your activation catalyst, and this is EnergizeUtv. See what's possible when you keep activating your energy.